Have you ever reached a point where you felt so tired of trying that quitting felt easier than continuing? Not because you were lazy, not because you were weak, but because you felt invisible. This story is about a boy who reached that point. His name was Ethan. Ethan was not a troublemaker. He was not a bad student. He was just quiet. In class, his teachers focused on the top students, the loud ones, the confident ones. Ethan sat near the back, copying notes, trying to understand, trying to keep up. But every time he raised his hand, his answer came out wrong. Every time he tried, someone else was faster, smarter, better. Slowly, a dangerous thought grew inside him. Maybe school is not for me. At home, things were not easy either. His parents worked long hours. They were tired. They wanted results, not explanations. Why are your grades like this? You need to do better. You're wasting time. No one asked how he felt. No one noticed how hard he was trying. One evening, Ethan sat on his bed holding his report card. Red marks, low scores, comments that said, needs improvement. He stared at the paper for a long time. Then he whispered something that scared even him. Maybe I should just stop going. Not because he hated learning, but because he was tired of feeling like a failure every single day. The next morning, Ethan walked to school slower than usual. Not because he was late, because he didn't want to arrive. Every step felt heavy, like his feet were arguing with his heart. In the hallway, he heard laughter. Friends talking about tests they had passed, about plans, about dreams. Ethan felt like a ghost, walking among them. In class, the teacher explained a math problem on the board. Numbers filled the space. Steps were written quickly. Everyone seemed to understand. Ethan didn't. He copied everything, just like always, but his mind felt foggy. When the teacher asked a question, hands shot up, not his. He already knew his answer would be wrong, so he stayed quiet. Again. During lunch, he sat alone, staring at his food. His phone buzzed with a message from his father. Remember, your uncle dropped out. His life is hard now. Don't become like him. Ethan read the message twice. It wasn't meant to be cruel, but it felt like a warning and a threat. If I fail, I will disappoint everyone. The pressure became too much. That afternoon, he didn't go to the last class. Instead, he walked to the back of the school and sat on a bench under an old tree. He had made a decision. He would quit. He would tell his parents he couldn't do it anymore. He would find some small job. At least then, he wouldn't have to feel stupid every day. As he sat there, a shadow fell across the ground. Someone had stopped in front of him. It was Mr. Lewis, the English teacher. Not the strict one, not the loud one. The one who always noticed when someone was quiet. Mr. Lewis looked at him and asked softly, "Why are you out here when class is still going on?" Ethan wanted to lie, but something in the teacher's eyes made it hard. So he told the truth. "I think I'm done, sir. I don't think school is for me." Mr. Lewis didn't get angry. He didn't lecture. He sat down beside him and said one simple line. "Before you decide to quit, tell me one thing. Who convinced you that you're a failure?" Ethan had no answer, because no one had ever asked him that before. Ethan looked down at his hands. They were shaking slightly. "I don't know, sir," he said quietly. I keep trying, and nothing works. Everyone else understands. I don't. So maybe I'm just not made for this." Mr. Lewis stayed silent for a moment. Not the kind of silence that feels empty, but the kind that feels like someone is really thinking about your words. Then he said, "Do you know how many students I've seen in this school who are slow at the start but strong at the end?" Ethan shrugged. "Probably not many." Mr. Lewis smiled gently. "More than you can imagine. The problem is, most of them don't quit. They just suffer quietly until something clicks." He picked up a small stone from the ground and held it out. "Have you ever seen a river shape a rock?" Ethan nodded. "Does it break it in one day?" the teacher asked. "No," Ethan said. "It takes a long time." "Exactly," Mr. Lewis said. "And the river isn't stronger than the rock. It's just more patient." Ethan felt something tighten in his chest. He had never thought of himself as someone who lacked patience. He had always thought he lacked intelligence. Mr. Lewis continued. You think you're behind because you compare your beginning to someone else's middle. You don't see the nights they struggled, the times they felt stupid too. Ethan's eyes filled slightly. But sir, he said, what if I try and still fail? Mr. Lewis looked at him calmly. Then you'll fail like someone who tried, and that kind of failure teaches more than quitting ever will. The words didn't sound dramatic. They sounded honest. For the first time in a long while, Ethan felt that someone wasn't judging his results, but understanding his effort, and that changed something inside him. Mr. Lewis stood up and said, "Come with me." They walked back into the school building together. Not fast, not rushed, just step by step. Outside the classroom door, Ethan stopped. Fear returned. What if I still don't understand? He asked quietly. Mr. Lewis looked at him and said, then we will understand it slowly. Together. That day, after class, Mr. Lewis stayed back with him. One problem, one line, one explanation at a time. Ethan didn't suddenly become the best student. He didn't suddenly get perfect marks. But something more important happened. He stopped believing he was broken. Weeks passed. Ethan still struggled, but now he raised his hand. He still made mistakes, but he no longer hid. He still felt tired, but he didn't feel alone. One afternoon, as he walked out of school, he realized something powerful. He had almost quit, not because he was incapable, but because he felt unseen. All it took was one teacher to notice, one voice to say, "You're not a failure. You are just early in your journey." Years later, Ethan would remember that bench, that tree, and that simple question. Who convinced you that you are a failure? And he would know the answer. No one had the right to. Because sometimes, one person believing in you at the right moment is enough to save your entire future.